Have you ever loved someone so deeply that you lost yourself in the process? That burning desire to make them happy, to be everything they need, even at the cost of your own well-being. Look around this room. I bet every single one of you that's felt that pain, that act of giving too much and receiving too little in return. It's a harsh reality, isn't it? We're fed this fairy tale notion that love conquers all, that sacrificing everything for the one you love is noble, romantic even. But let me tell you something, that's a load of bull. You want the truth? Here it is. Self-sacrificing love is a one-way ticket to misery, resentment, and a shattered sense of self. It's time to wake up and face the facts. Think about it. How many times have you bent over backwards for someone, compromising your values, your dreams, your very essence, only to be left feeling empty and used? How many sleepless nights have you spent wondering why your love isn't enough, why they can't see how much you're giving? I'll tell you why. Because when you put someone else's needs above your own, you're telling the world and yourself that you're not worthy of love and respect. You're setting yourself up for a lifetime of disappointment and heartache. Let's get real here. Love isn't about martyrdom. It's not about sacrificing your happiness on the altar of someone else's desires. That's not love. That's self-destruction disguised as devotion. You want examples? I've got plenty. Take Sarah, a brilliant young woman who gave up her dream job to follow her boyfriend across the country. She thought she was being supportive, showing her love. Fast forward 2 years, and where is she now? Stuck in a dead-end job, resentful and bitter, while her boyfriend thrives in his career. Or how about Mike? But he spent years trying to change himself to fit his partner's ideal. Gave up his hobbies, his friends, even changed his appearance. And what did he get in return? A partner who still wasn't satisfied and a shell of the man he used to be. These aren't isolated incidents. This is happening every day. People just like you and me. We're so afraid of being alone, so desperate for love and acceptance that we're willing to chip away at our very souls to get it. But here's the kicker. It never works. You can give and give and give until there's nothing left of you, and it still won't guarantee love or loyalty. In fact, it often has the opposite effect. People don't respect what comes too easily. They don't value what's always available. By constantly putting someone else's needs first, you're teaching them that your needs don't matter. And let's talk about the long-term consequences of this self-sacrificing love. Depression, anxiety, loss of identity. These aren't just possible outcomes, they're practically guaranteed. When you consistently prioritize someone else's happiness over your own, you're sending a message to your subconscious that you're not important, that your feelings, your desire, your very existence is secondary to someone else's. This kind of thinking seeps into every aspect of your life. It affects your career, your friendships, your health. You start to believe that you don't deserve good things, that your purpose in life is to serve others. And before you know it, you're trapped in a cycle, even that leaves you drained, unfulfilled, and wonder where it all went wrong. But it doesn't stop there. Oh no, it gets worse. This self-sacrificing behavior doesn't just hurt you, it poisons the very relationship you're trying to nurture. Think about it. How can you truly love someone when you've lost yourself? How can you be a partner, an equal, when you reduce yourself to a doormat? The truth is, relationships built on self-sacrifice are inherently unbalanced. They're not partnerships, they're parasitic. One person gives, the other takes, and both end up unfulfilled. The giver becomes resentful, the taker becomes entitled, and the whole thing implodes in a spectacular fashion. And don't even get me started on the impact this has on your children, if you have them. You think you're setting a good example by putting your partner first. Think again. You're teaching your kids that love means losing yourself, that it's okay to be treated as less. Is that really the legacy you want to leave? Now, I can hear some of you thinking, but what about compromise? Isn't that a part of love? Ours it is. But there's a world of difference between healthy compromise and self-destruction. Compromise is a two-way street. It's both partners meeting in the middle, both giving a little to get a little. What we're talking about here is one person giving everything while the other takes it all. Let me be clear. This isn't about demonizing love. Love, when it's healthy and balanced, can be a beautiful, enriching part of life. But the kind of love that that demands you sacrifice your essence, your dreams, your self-respect. That's not love. That's emotional slavery. So what's the alternative? How do we break free from this cycle of self-destructive love? It starts with a fundamental shift in mindset. You need to understand, really understand, that you are worthy of love and respect just as you are. You don't need to earn it by martyring yourself. This isn't easy. If you've spent years or even decades putting others first, the idea of prioritizing yourself can feel selfish, even wrong. But let me tell you something. There's nothing selfish about self-respect. There's nothing wrong with having boundaries, with expecting to be treated with kindness and consideration. It's time to take a hard look at your relationships. Are you giving more than you're receiving? Are you constantly compromising your values, your dreams, your sense of self? If the answer is yes, it's time to make some changes. This doesn't necessarily mean ending the relationship, although in some cases, that might be the healthiest option. What it does mean is redefining the terms of your engagement. It means learning to say no, to set boundaries, to demand respect. Remember, true love, healthy love doesn't require you to diminish yourself. It doesn't ask you to give up your dreams or change who you are. Real love is about growth, about becoming the best version of yourself alongside someone who supports and cherishes you. But here's the thing. You can't expect someone else to value you if you don't value yourself first. This is where the real work begins. It's time to reconnect with who you are, with what you want out of life. It's time to rediscover your passions, your dreams, the things that make you uniquely. This process isn't easy. It requires courage, commitment, and a willingness to face some uncomfortable truths. You might have to confront the fact that you've been using self-sacrifice as a way to avoid dealing with your own issues. You might have to admit that you've been hiding behind your role as the giver to avoid the vulnerability of true intimacy. But let me tell you, the payoff is worth it. When you start to value yourself, when you start to set healthy boundaries and expect respect, something magical happens. You start attracting people who value you too. You start building relationships based on mutual respect and genuine affection, not obligation or manipulation. And here's the real kicker. You become capable of loving more deeply, more authentically than ever before. Because when you love from a place of self-respect and wholeness, you're not loving out of need or fear. You're loving from a place of strength and choice. This is the kind of love that enriches your life, that helps you grow and thrive. It's the kind of love that doesn't demand sacrifices, but inspires you to be the best version of yourself. And isn't that what we're all really looking for? So I challenge you, right here, right now, make a commitment to yourself. Promise that from this day forward, you will not hurt yourself in the name of love. Promise that you will value yourself, respect yourself, and expect the same from others. It won't be easy. There will be days when you'll be tempted to fall back into old patterns. There will be people who will try to take advantage of your newfound strength, who will try to guilt you into putting their needs first. But stand firm. Remember your worth. Remember that you deserve love that lifts you up, not love that tears you down. This is your life we're talking about. Your one precious life. Don't waste it trying to earn love by diminishing yourself. Don't spend it catering to people who don't appreciate your worth. You have so much to offer, so much potential waiting to be realized. The harsh reality of self-sacrificing love is that it's a losing game. No matter how much you give, it will never be enough. No matter how much you change yourself, it won't guarantee love or loyalty. The only way to win is to stop playing altogether. Instead, choose self-respect, choose self-love, choose to be unapologetically, authentically you. Because when you do that, when you stand in your power and demand to be valued, that's when you'll find the kind of love that's worth having. That's when you'll build relationships that enrich your life instead of draining it. Get me wrong. You are not responsible for anyone else's happiness. You are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Your primary responsibility is to yourself, to your own growth and happiness. So starting to make a vow to love yourself first. Make a commitment to honor your needs, your dreams, your boundaries. Promise yourself that you will never again sacrifice your essence for someone else's approval. Because here's the truth. When you love yourself, when you respect yourself, you become magnetic. You attract people who appreciate your strength, who value your authenticity. You create relationships based on mutual respect and genuine affection, not dependency or obligation. This is the foundation for real love. For partnerships that lift you up instead of tearing you down. This is how you build a life filled with joy, purpose, and genuine connection. So are you ready? Are you ready to break free from the cycle of self-sacrificing love? Are you ready to reclaim your power to demand the respect and love you deserve? Because let me tell you, the world is waiting for the real you. The strong, authentic, unapologetic you. It's time to stop hurting yourself in the name of love. It's time to start loving yourself first. The journey won't be easy, but I promise you, it will be worth it. You will be worth it. Now, let's talk about how we can start this journey of self-discovery and self-respect. It begins with recognizing your own value, with understanding that you are worthy of love and respect, just as you are. But recognition is just the first step. The real work comes in. Now that we've torn down the illusion of self-sacrificing love, it's time to rebuild. It's time to reclaim your power and self-worth. This isn't some feel-good kumbaya bullshit. This is about forging yourself into the kind of person who commands respect, who knows their value, and who doesn't take crap from anyone, especially not in the name of love. You've spent too long dimming your light for others. You've compromised. You've bent over backwards. You've given pieces of yourself away until there's hardly anything left. Well, that stops now. Today, right here, we're going to start the process of reclaiming everything you've lost. And then, first things first, you need to recognize your value, not the value others place on you, not the value society tells you you should have, but your intrinsic, unshakable worth as a human being. This isn't about ego or arrogance. It's about understanding on a fundamental level that you are worthy of respect, love, and success simply because you exist. How many of you have ever felt like you're not good enough? Like, you don't deserve happiness or success. That's the result of years of self-sacrificing behavior, of putting everyone else's needs before your own. It's time to flip the script. I want you to think about all the things that make you unique. Your skills, your experiences, your perspective on the world. These aren't just quirks or random attributes. They're your superpowers. They're what set you apart from the 7 billion other people on this planet. And they have value, immense value. But here's the thing. Recognizing your value is just the first step. The real challenge is in protecting and nurturing that value. It's about setting boundaries that keep the energy vampires and emotional leeches at bay. It's about learning to say without guilt and easy with enthusiasm. Setting boundaries isn't about being mean or selfish. It's about self-preservation. It's about understanding that you can't pour from an empty cup. When you set clear, firm boundaries, you're not just protecting yourself. You're actually improving your relationships. Because, let's face it, no one respects a doormat. And how do you set these boundaries? It starts with knowing what you will and won't accept in your life. What behavior crosses the line for you? What requests make you feel uncomfortable or taken advantage of? Once you've identified these, it's time to communicate them clearly and consistently. And there's where a lot of people mess up. They set boundaries, but they don't enforce them. They cave at the first sign of resistance or guilt tripping. But let me tell you something. A boundary without consequences is just a suggestion. And suggestions get ignored. You need to be prepared to follow through. If someone consistently disrespects your boundaries, you need to be ready to walk away. It might be uncomfortable. It might even be painful, but it's necessary for your growth and self-respect. Now, I can hear some of you thinking, but what if I lose people by setting boundaries? Good, let them go. Anyone who leaves your life because you start respecting yourself isn't someone you need in your life anyway. You're making them people who value and respect you. This process of setting and enforcing boundaries is going to feel uncomfortable at first. You might feel guilty. You might worry that you're being selfish. But remember this, taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. You can't be a good partner, friend, employee, or anything else if you're constantly depleted. As you start to set these boundaries, you'll notice something incredible happening. Your self-esteem will start to rise. You'll start to feel more in control of your life, and paradoxically, your relationships will improve. Because when you respect yourself, others respect you too. But setting boundaries is just one part of reclaiming your power. The next step is developing emotional resilience. This is your ability to bounce back from setbacks, to weather the storms of life without losing your sense of self. Emotional resilience isn't about being tough or not feeling emotions. It's about processing those emotions in a healthy way, learning from them, and using them to fuel your growth rather than drag you down. One of the key components of emotional resilience is self-awareness. You need to understand your emotional triggers, your patterns of behavior, your strengths and weaknesses. This isn't about judgment. It's about knowledge. Because when you understand yourself, you can start to make conscious choices rather than just reacting. Part of this self-awareness is learning to differentiate between your emotions and your identity. Just because you feel worthless in a moment doesn't mean you are worthless. Just because you feel unloved doesn't mean you are unlovable. Your emotions are valid and important, but they don't define you. Another crucial aspect of emotional resilience is developing a growth mindset. This means seeing challenges as opportunities for growth rather than insurmountable obstacles. It means understanding that failure is not the opposite of success. It's a part of success. How many of you have given up on something because you failed the first time, or the second, or the 10th? That's a fixed mindset talking. A growth mindset says, I haven't succeeded yet, but I'm learning and improving with every attempt. This mindset shift is crucial for reclaiming your power. Because when you stop fearing failure, when you start seeing every experience as an opportunity to learn and grow, you become unstoppable. You stop letting setbacks define you, start using them as stepping stones. Now, let's talk about self-empowerment strategies. These are the practical, day-to-day actions you can take to reinforce your self-worth and personal power. First up, self-care. And I'm not talking about bubble baths and face masks, although those can be nice. I'm talking about the nitty-gritty, unsexy parts of taking care of yourself, getting enough sleep, eating nutritious food, moving your body, managing your stress. These aren't luxuries, they're necessities. When you take care of your physical health, you're building a strong foundation for your mental and emotional health. That's constant, continuous learning and growth. Your brain is like a muscle. If you don't use it, it atrophies. So challenge yourself. Learn new skills. Read books that stretch your mind. Take on projects that scare you a little. Every time you push yourself out of your comfort zone, you're expanding your sense of what's possible. Another powerful strategy is surrounding yourself with the right people. You've heard the saying that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Well, it's true. If you're surrounded by negative, small-minded people who are content with mediocrity, guess what? That's going to rub off on you. Instead, seek out people who inspire you, who challenge you, who believe in you. Even when you don't believe in yourself, these people are your personal board of directors. They're the ones who will push you to be better, who will call you out when you're selling yourself short, who will celebrate your victories and help you learn from your defeats. And speaking of victories, start celebrating your wins, no matter how small. Too often, we focus on our failures and shortcomings while ignoring our successes. But every win, no matter how minor it might seem, is proof of your capabilities. It's evidence that you're growing, that you're making progress. Acknowledge these wins. Celebrate them. Use them as fuel to keep pushing forward. Now let's talk about one of the most powerful tools. Reclaiming your power, your self-talk. The way you speak to yourself shapes your reality. If you're constantly putting yourself down, telling yourself you're not good enough, guess what? You're going to believe it. And you're going to act accordingly. It's time to become your own biggest cheerleader. When that negative self-talk creeps, and it will challenge it, question it. Would you speak to a friend the way you speak to yourself? If not, it's time to change the narrative. Replace those negative thoughts with positive, empowering ones. Instead of, I can't do this, try this is challenging, but I'm capable of figuring it out. Instead of, I'm not good enough, try, I'm constantly growing and improving. This isn't about deluding yourself or ignoring your areas for improvement. It's about giving yourself the same compassion and encouragement you'd give to someone you care about. It's about creating a mental environment that fosters growth and resilience rather than self-doubt and stagnation. As you start implementing these strategies, you'll notice a shift. You'll start feeling more confident, more in control of your life. You'll start attracting different kinds of people and opportunities. And most importantly, you'll start to value yourself in a way you never have before. But here's the thing. This isn't a one-and-done process. Reclaiming your power and self-worth is an ongoing journey. There will be setbacks. There will be days when you slip back into old patterns, and that's okay. The key is to keep moving forward, to keep choosing yourself, to keep reinforcing your worth through your actions and choices. And remember, you're not just doing this for yourself. By reclaiming your power and self-worth, you're setting an example for others. You're showing the world what it looks like to love yourself unapologetically, to demand respect, to live life on your own terms. You're breaking the cycle of self-sacrificing love, not just for yourself, but for everyone who looks up to you, for your children, if you have them, for your friends who are stuck in toxic relationships, for anyone who's ever felt like they had to diminish themselves. Beloved, this is your moment. This is your time to rise, to shed the weight of others' expectations and stand tall in your own power, to look in the mirror and see not just who you are, but who you're becoming. You're worthy. You are valuable. You are deserving of love and respect, not because of what you do for others, not because of your accomplishments or your relationships, but simply because you exist. You are enough just as you are. So I challenge you, now I adore you, that to start living from that place of self-worth, to make choices that honor your value, to build relationships that reflect your worth, to pursue dreams that excite and fulfill you. Because when you truly reclaim your power and self-worth, that's when the magic happens. That's when you start living life on your own terms. That's when you become unstoppable. And that, my friends, is how you stop hurting yourself loving someone else. That's how you build a life filled with genuine, reciprocal love and respect. That's how you become the hero of your own story. Now, armed with this newfound sense of self-worth and personal power, it's time to tackle the next challenge. How do we take this empowered version of ourselves and create healthy, fulfilling relationships? How do we love others deeply without losing ourselves in the process? That's what we're going to explore next. You reclaimed your power. You've rebuilt your self-worth. Now comes the real test. Can you maintain that self-respect while building deep, meaningful relationships? Can you love someone else without losing yourself in the process? The answer is yes, but it's not going to be easy. It requires a fundamental shift in how you approach relationships. It demands that you balance love and self-respect in a way that most people never learn to do. Let's start with a hard truth. Love is not enough. I don't care how many movies you've watched or songs. You've heard that say otherwise. Love on its own is not enough to build a healthy, lasting relationship. You need respect. You need trust. You need compatibility. And most importantly, you need to maintain your sense of self. Too many people make the mistake of thinking that love means becoming one with another person. They lose their individual identity in the relationship, becoming a half of a whole rather than a whole person in a partnership. This is a recipe for disaster. A healthy relationship is not about two people completing each other. It's about two whole, complete individuals choosing to share their lives. It's about enhancing each other's existence, not defining it. So how do we build this kind of relationship? This starts with maintaining your individuality. This means having your own interests, your own friends, your own goals outside of the relationship. It means not abandoning the things that make you who you are just because you're with someone. How many of you have given up hobbies or friendships because your partner didn't approve? How many have changed fundamental aspects of yourself to fit someone else's ideal? That stops now. A partner there who truly loves and respects you will encourage your individuality. They'll want you to pursue your passions, to maintain your friendships, to grow as a person, because they understand that your growth and happiness contribute to the health of the relationship. Next, let's talk about boundaries. Yes, we're back to boundaries, because in a healthy relationship, Boundaries are not just important, they're essential. They're the guardrails that keep your relationship on track and prevent either partner from losing themselves. These boundaries can take many forms. It might be agreeing on how much time you spend together versus apart. It might be establishing rules about privacy or personal space. It might be setting limits on what you're willing to compromise on and what's non-negotiable for you. The key is to communicate these boundaries clearly and consistently. Don't expect your partner to read your mind. Don't drop hints and hope they'll get it. Be direct, be specific, and be prepared to enforce these boundaries if they're crossed. Remember, setting boundaries isn't about creating distance. It's about creating respect. It's about ensuring that both partners feel safe and valued in the relationship. Now, let's address one of the biggest killers of healthy relationships, codependence. This is when you become so enmeshed with your partner that you lose your sense of self. Your mood, your self-esteem, your entire identity becomes dependent on the relationship. Codependence is often mistaken for love, but it's not love, it's fear. Fear of being alone, fear of not being enough on your own, fear of facing your own issues. The antidote to codependence is interdependence. This is when two self-sufficient individuals choose to rely on each other. They support each other, they lean on each other, but they don't define themselves by the relationship. Building an interdependent relationship requires self-awareness and emotional maturity. It means being able to differentiate between your emotions and your partner's. It means taking responsibility for your own happiness rather than expecting your partner to be your everything. It also means being able to say no. No to requests that cross your boundaries. No to behaviors that disrespect you. No to anything that requires you to compromise your values or sense of self. Saying no doesn't make you a bad partner. It makes you an honest one. It shows that you value the relationship enough to be truthful even when it's uncomfortable. Now, let's talk about communication. You've heard it before. Communication is key in relationships. But I'm not talking about just talking more. I'm talking about communicating effectively, assertively, and honestly. Assertive communication means expressing your thoughts, feelings, and needs clearly and directly without aggression or passive aggressiveness. It means being able to say, I feel, instead of you make me feel. It means taking ownership of your emotions while still making your needs known. This kind of communication requires vulnerability. And vulnerability can be scary, especially if you've been hurt in the past. But here's the thing. Without vulnerability, you can't have true intimacy. You can't build a deep, meaningful connection if you're always hiding behind. But vulnerability doesn't oversharing or emotional vomiting. It means being authentic, being honest about your feelings and needs, and being willing to show your true self, flaws and all. And here's a crucial point. Effective communication is much about listening as it is about speaking. It's about truly hearing your partner, trying to understand their perspective, even when you disagree. It's about creating a safe space where both of you can express yourselves without fear of judgment or retribution. Now, let's address conflict. Because no matter how great your relationship is, you will have conflicts. The goal isn't to avoid conflict. It's to handle it in a way that strengthens your relationship rather than weakens it. Healthy conflict resolution isn't about winning or proving a right. It's about understanding each other better and finding solutions that work for both of you. It's about attacking the problem, not each other. This means no name calling, no bringing up past mistakes, no hitting below the belt. It means staying focused on the issue at hand and working together to resolve it. It means being willing to compromise, but not to the point of sacrificing your core values or self-respect. And sometimes, resolving conflict means agreeing to disagree. Not every issue needs to be solved. Not every difference needs to be reconciled. Sometimes respecting each other's different perspectives is enough. Now, let's talk about something that often gets overlooked in discussions about healthy relationships: personal growth. A truly healthy relationship should foster growth, both individually and as a couple. This means supporting each other's goals and ambitions. It means challenging each other to be better. It means being each other's biggest cheerleaders and toughest critics in a loving, constructive way. But it also means being okay with growing on a different rates or in different directions. Your partner's growth shouldn't threaten you. Their success shouldn't diminish you. If you find yourself feeling resentful of your partner's achievements, that's a sign that you need to focus on your own growth. Remember, relationships should be a partnership that elevates both individuals, not a competition where one person's gain is the other's loss. Now, let's address a tough but necessary topic, knowing when to walk away. Because sometimes, no matter how much you love someone, the healthiest thing you can do is end the relationship. If your partner consistently disrespects your boundaries, if they're abusive in any way, if they require you to shrink yourself or compromise your values, it's time to go. No relationship is worth sacrificing your self-respect or safety for. Any relationship, to be a relationship doesn't mean you failed. It means you're brave enough to acknowledge that it's not working and strong enough to choose your well-being over a comfortable but unhealthy situation. As we wrap up, I want to emphasize a crucial point. Building healthy relationships is an ongoing process. It's not something you achieve and then you're done. It requires constant effort, communication, and self-reflection. You'll make mistakes. You'll have moments of weakness where you fall back in old patterns, and that's okay. The key is to learn from these slip-ups, to use them as opportunities for growth rather than beating yourself up over them. You remember, the goal isn't perfection, and the goal is progress. It's about consistently choosing to honor yourself while also showing up fully in your relationships. It's about loving deeply without losing yourself in the process. So I challenge you, take what you learned here and apply it to your relationships. Start setting those boundaries. Start communicating more effectively. Start choosing partners who respect your individuality and support your growth. But most importantly, start with yourself. Because the healthiest, most fulfilling relationships begin with self-love and self-respect. When you truly value yourself, you'll naturally attract and create relationships that reflect that value. You have the power to build relationships that enhance your life rather than diminish it. You have the ability to love deeply without sacrificing your sense of self. You have everything you need within you to create the kind of love you deserve. So go out there and love fiercely, but love wisely. Build relationships that lift you up, that challenge you to grow, that respect your boundaries and celebrate your individuality. Because that, my friends, is what true love looks like. And remember, this journey doesn't end here. Building healthy relationships is a lifelong process of learning, growing, and evolving. But with each step you take, with each boundary you set, with each moment of vulnerability, you're creating a life filled with genuine, reciprocal love and respect. You're not just changing your own life. You're changing the lives of everyone around you. You're setting a new standard for what love should look like. You're breaking generational cycles of toxic relationships and self-sacrifice. So keep pushing forward. Keep choosing yourself. Keep building those healthy relationships because you deserve nothing less than love that honors all of who you are. And as you go forward, implementing these strategies in your life and relationships, remember, this are worthy of love that doesn't hurt. You are capable of loving without losing yourself, and you have the power to create relationships that are truly fulfilling. This is your life. It's your love story. Write on your own terms. Make it a story of self-respect, of growth, of love that uplifts rather than diminishes. Make it a story you're proud to tell. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. It's about creating a life and relationships that reflect your true worth. It's about loving others while still honoring yourself. It's about building a legacy of healthy, respectful love that ripples out and changes the world around you. So go forth and love boldly, love wisely, and above all, love yourself first. The rest will follow. And trust me, it will be worth every step of the journey.